The evening light spilled across the plains like honey poured over dust, long shadows stretching until they swallowed the little town whole. Folks had gathered on the boardwalks and at the hitching posts, restless, waiting for the moment they all thought would bring them laughter. The wagon rattled into place, and when Eleanor Mae Boone stepped down, the hush was sharp enough to sting. Her frame filled the small space, her dress straining against seams that had never been made with kindness in mind. She clutched a satchel close, her breath shallow, as if she could hold herself small. Laughter hid behind coughs, whispers pressed against hands. She felt every glance like a needle pressed to skin. Jedediah Cole stood at the corral's edge, his arms folded, hat-brimmed shading eyes that had seen too many lonely seasons. The town expected him to laugh, to wave her back, to send her home as the punchline. But he didn't. His gaze settled not on her body, but on the way she held herself. Chin tucked low, shoulders braced, as if against storm. He remembered storm himself, remembered what it was to lose, to carry silence instead of laughter in a home too wide for one man. He stepped forward, boots crunching dry earth. His hand, calloused and steady, lifted toward her. "Ma'am," he said, his voice even, "welcome to my land." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Ruthie Mae muttered something sharp enough to cut. Martha Boone smirked, thinking this charade could not last. But Ellie, trembling, placed her hand in his. The world tilted then, the joke hollowing into something unexpected. The days that followed were quiet but heavy. Ellie rose before sun and tried to match the rhythm of ranch life. The pump handle bit into her palms. The water bucket near tore her arms from their sockets. Breathless, her dress clinging with sweat, she cursed herself in silence. Yet Jedediah never scolded. He took the bucket wordlessly, set it aside, and pointed her toward another task. She tied rope with nimble fingers, her face flushed with the relief of usefulness. Later, she found a torn sleeve of his shirt and mended it by lantern glow. When he wore it the next morning, without mention, her heart stirred, just faintly, like an ember long buried. Their conversations were sparse, but there were gestures. An extra chair sturdy enough to hold her frame placed beside the table. His hand brushing dust from her shoulder when she worked near the barn. The land carried their silence, grass bending in wind, cattle lowing in the far fields, the horizon endless and indifferent. Yet in that silence, something was forming, quiet as roots in the dark. When they rode into town for supplies, the world shifted again. Whispers chased them down the wooden sidewalks. Cole's desperate, taking her in. He could have any woman, why her? Ellie's ears burned. At the general store, she reached for flour, only to hear muffled laughter behind her. Tears blurred her sight. She dropped the sack and fled into the street, the sound of her own sob tangled with their cruelty. That night Jedediah said little, but she found a kerosene lantern glowing by her door, placed there by his steady hand. A small act, but it told her plainly, "You are safe here." Ellie began to change then, not in body, but in will. She refused to remain the butt of a joke. She rose each morning with steadier steps, began to ride a horse under Jedediah's patient guidance. The first time she stayed in the saddle without tumbling, her laugh carried across the pasture, unguarded and bright. He turned toward the sound, and though his mouth barely moved, something softened in his eyes. Her strength showed itself in unexpected ways. She cooked for ranch hands who praised her meals. She calmed calves with a gentleness men envied. When a summer storm tore fences and scattered cattle, Ellie faced fear and fought it down. Rain drenched her, mud clung to her skirts, yet she drove the herd with a fierceness that surprised even herself. Jedediah saw not her size but her soul, strong and unyielding, like the earth itself. The town's judgment, though, did not soften. A gathering was called, lanterns strung, fiddles tuning in the square. It was a night meant for laughter, for choosing partners, for the measure of who belonged. Ellie lingered at the edge, clutching her shawl, Martha's voice hissing venom in her ear. "Let's see how long he keeps you, girl." The music swelled, couples turned across the floor. Men snickered, daring Jedediah with their eyes, certain he would not bear the weight of her beside him here, in front of them all. Then silence. Jedediah moved through the crowd, boots steady on the boards, his shadow stretching long under lantern light. He ignored the expectant faces, the slim waists and bright eyes of other women waiting. He stopped before Ellie. She could hardly breathe, shame and hope wrestling in her chest. His hand reached out once more, same as the day he first chose her. "If I choose," he said, voice firm as the plains wind, "I choose her. Always." The town gasped. Ruthie Mae's jaw fell open. Martha's smirk shattered. Ellie trembled, her lips parted but words lost. She placed her hand in his, and they moved to the dance floor. It was not graceful, not smooth, but it was steady. Step after step, his arms strong at her back, her eyes filling not with humiliation, but with something deeper, being seen, holy, and without condition. The music carried them, and in its sway, the cruel joke became triumph. Sometimes the world sets you up for humiliation, thinking your weight too much, your heart too fragile. But the land remembers courage, and love remembers kindness. In the silence of small mercies, dignity takes root. And maybe you've known laughter turned against you. Maybe you felt the sting of being overlooked or cast aside. Hear this. Then, the ones who see you, truly see you, will choose you forever. And that choice, when it comes, will silence every cruel tongue.